In 2020, I was having one of many crises. Always have an existential moment. It's a millennial thing. For me, I'm a cyclebreaker, and that is like very core to my being. Bringing it back to being inspired by Issa Rae, she had a masterclass, and in her masterclass, she said she remembers like thinking, "Where's the black Liz Lemon?" Be like awkward, funny, quirky character, and she was like, "That's me." If there's something you want to see on TV and you would be upset to see it be made and you didn't do it, then you need to go do it. You're gonna be mad watching it, be like, damn, I could have made that shit. That is what made me be like, I need to start writing this ASAP.
This is Jasmine Ruiz. Over the past few years, she's garnered a following sharing her talents as a multifaceted entertainer. Inspired by Issa Rae, Jasmine's been in the lab, crafting a dramedy about the journey of a cyclebreaker.
A cyclebreaker is someone who is the first in their family to do X, first to move to this country, the first to grow up in this country.
Brian and I were eager to discuss the process of creating our own show.
Selling a show now is way more difficult than the way it used to be. They have offset like all of the costs to the writer before they even walk in the room.
Being a self-starter.
I kind of just self-taught myself everything.
We call that the jungle, as in like, yo, if we put you in the jungle, you're gonna survive.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not dying in no jungle.
Yeah.
I'll fight a monkey.
And does she even need the support of traditional media in today's landscape?
If that's what you really want to do, why do you need them to give you access? Why do you need their permission?
Because...
All right, y'all, let's peep the details.
Who are you for the people that don't know?
So for everyone that doesn't know, my name is Jasmine, and I'm a content creator, I'm a comedian, I'm an actress. I do a little bit of everything. I would say I have many tools in my toolbox of creativity. So I do stand-up, I do sketch comedy. Of course, I make fun videos on the internet. And yeah, I'm from the Bronx, and I love all things creative. I used to be a dancer. And yeah, I recently left my job in corporate America. So
what were you doing?
Summary. I was working at Macy's. I was a buyer for a few years, and then I got into product development. I was good at it, working my way up, just not what I wanted to do forever.
So were you working out of the offices next door, like a few blocks down?
Yeah, their main building has like everything's in there. So I was in the corporate offices there.
Yeah. So you was over there for like 7 years.
7 years. I mean, we had a couple different offices, but after COVID, like I think that's their only office right now.
Right.
So then I was there, but that was like here and there. It was definitely remote, thank God. So that was my corporate career, but the whole time I was doing creative things. After about 1 year in corporate America, I was like, this is not what I want to like dedicate my life to. And I just really miss doing creative things. I used to do a bunch of stuff in college, and I was a dancer and a bunch of things on campus. So I needed to scratch my creative itch. So I started podcasting. I did that for a couple years. And then, I tried to start this clothing line, which ended up not doing anything, but I learned a lot from it.
Right.
And then I missed dance. So then I danced for a couple years, and then COVID hit. And, that's when I like kind of just had my moment where I was like, oh, the answer's been in my face the whole time. I like to do content. I like to be funny. I'm just going to be a comedian and make fun content. And I know a lot of people had their revelation during lockdown. So I was one of those.
Yeah, same.
You
likewise.
too?
Before 2020, I was dabbling in a lot of different things. I'm a partner in a retail store. I have like a small creative agency. I worked as an editor for magazines in the past. I worked for Double XL, for Complex, and these zines. So I was in that space where I kind of dabbled in, I guess, a 9-to-5 job, but it still had a creative edge to it.
Right.
But even that wasn't really satisfying for me. So during the pandemic, I started making cooking videos, and those videos started to pop off on TikTok. And I think this is very natural transition into explaining who we are. Right?
Yeah.
So that started to pop off on TikTok, but I had this ideal of wanting to start this podcast network featuring Asian American or Asian, like focusing mostly on Asian American content, like podcasters. So I wanted to make this podcast network. And I was seeking out to him. I was hollering at him for advice. So he's done a lot of work in the YouTube space. So he had like a YouTube channel that he started back in like 2008. You know what I mean? And that channel, he wasn't the talent, like he was overseeing other talents.
Got
And
you.
that channel sold to a bigger,
Nice.
I wouldn't say a channel, but like a media company.
Okay.
And then he worked for that media company and called Maker Studio. And then that company got acquired by Disney. So he's been in those rooms, like he understand like what's happening in the media landscape. I wanted to reach out to him and see, yo, what you think about this podcast network idea that I have? And he was like, oh, that's a dumbass idea. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're already in the 8th inning with that shit. And like baseball terminology, 8th inning, the game's about to be over.
It's about to be over,
So
yeah.
it's like, yo, you're already in the 8th inning. I don't think you should really be investing your time into that. But I see you getting busy on TikTok though. What's going on with that? And I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm just cooking at the crib.
Yeah.
And I guess because TikTok is a relatively new app, I was accumulating followers. Like the first 3 months I was on the app, I was already at like 300,000.
Nice.
You know, so it was like, I got in at the right time, right? Making the right type of content for the app. So he was like, yo, I think you should index into that. And we started hopping on these weekly calls and, you know, he's like a wealth of knowledge when it comes down to the creator economy. And, you know, maybe like, I would say like 18 months later, we decided to burn the sales. So he had a bunch of other projects that he was working on. He's like, yo, I'm gonna quit all of that for us to just do this together full time. So I did the same in 2022. We decided to just pretty much focus 100% of our time to Righteous Eats, the food page that, you know, you're familiar with. We started that. And then we just basically became full-time TikTokers.
That's so dope.
You know what I mean? That's what we are. And we figure that there's a lot of other people who are full-time TikTokers or aspiring to be full-time content creators that don't have a place to talk about their wins and losses. And that also doesn't understand fully of what this opportunity could mean for them.
Right.
So that was the genesis of why we started this podcast. Because we would have these breakout sessions with our friends and fam that, you know, are in the creator space. And they would, you know, holler at us, be like, yo, can we get a little bit of your time and all that? And we was like, yo, why don't we just make this into content?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that was pretty much why we are here.
And you found him from YouTube?
No. So I have a homie of mine. His name is Dumbfounded. He's a rapper who's had a lot of success via YouTube and continuously worked full-time as a creator and an entertainer. So he was managing him at the time, you know what I mean? And then he also worked with other artists like Anderson .Paak.
Got you.
And, you know, a whole array of artists. And yeah, that's how I first
Got it. You guys met
got
through
to
that.
know
Wow.
about him. Yeah.
Look at that. That's the universe.
Yep.
Just brings people together.
Yep.
I love that. Damn, that's so dope. Yeah, you know, how do you guys, I guess my question is like, you know, being full-time TikTokers, especially now for a couple years, I think one of the things that everyone talks the most about, but at the same time, the least about is like really how to monetize and turn it into a business. And, you know, I know for me, you know, I've definitely monetized with brand deals and stuff like that. But for people who don't necessarily consider themselves like influencers, they consider themselves rather creators or writers or comedians in my sense too. Like, how do you guys like monetize that? And like, what advice do you give to someone that maybe doesn't really want to lean into the brand deal route and rather wants to stick to the route that they're doing and figure out how to make it that way?
It depends what kind of content you're making. So, I mean, do you want me to be prescriptive with your content?
Sure. Yeah,
I mean,
let's rip it open.
I mean, so just give me a breakdown of like, what's your most viewed video? I'm just curious.
Oh, my most viewed video. I think it was a funny video. There's a lot of most viewed ones. It might be a Shrek video. I was dancing on Shrek and it was like
Dancing on Shrek to the music of Shrek?
I was dancing like on a little Shrek meme.
Oh,
like a little
meme.
Shrek. It was like a filter.
Yeah.
And it was like that moment where your friend is like, and you're like, you can't see because he just backed it up on you in the club, and you're like, no, maybe he a little mid. And she jumped away. So, you know, it's like, okay, you've seen it? All right. So I would say that's like one of my most liked videos, but.
So it was a skit.
It's usually funny skits. Yes.
Right.
They blow up.
The point that I wanted to try to make is essentially like, as creators, we always talk about your utility.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you have to, this is a transaction, right?
Right.
Like, so you could be giving someone financial advice. You could be like It could be hustle culture of Gary Vee telling you like get up out of your bed and like do it. It could be someone making you laugh. It could be someone very attractive that you just like looking at.
Yeah.
It could be whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing is like just understanding what your utility is.
Right.
And then so if you're fundamentally like doing, unboxings or product reviews, your path towards monetization is going to be a lot different than someone doing like makeup tutorials.
Right.
It's going to be very different than someone doing like Excel spreadsheet tutorials, right? So I think there's home improvement, right?
Right.
I think there's all these different ways in which you could do it. So I number one is like, okay, what is the utility that you're providing, right? And how.
Humor.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Humor. I be having people in my DMs like, girl, like I'm going through it right now. Thank you for keeping me sane. I'm like, you're welcome.
Yeah, perfect, right? So then and then it's okay, knowing your utility and then figuring out like, okay, well, what are the touch points that you could have for that utility? So, if you're doing humor, all right, great. There's so many ways you can get monetization from, just getting enough viewership where the platforms are giving you revenue, right?
Yes.
So
Instagram had that program. They stopped it. And I was like devastated. I think my best month was like $900 and something.
Nice.
And I was like, if they would continue that program, like I'd be chilling, like I was doing so well. And
Were you
it's okay.
getting busy with TikTok's program?
TikTok's program, it just never kicked off for me. So I just ended up leaving the creators program, the creators market, whatever it's called. So I left that.
Are you active on? So what are you active on? TikTok, Instagram?
I'm active on both. I would say, TikTok was really, really like my number one for like a few years. But now like Instagram is my number one. TikTok, I have more followers, but Instagram, my followers are so much more engaged. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's also has to do with like so many people now rushing to TikTok. It's a little bit more saturated over there than I think Instagram is right now, at least for me in my niche.
It's really more so just the nature of the apps.
They also turned TikTok into a marketplace, which really I think it killed the app. Oh my God, don't even get me started. It killed the app. I feel like it could have been like a YouTube rival, like people watching things and really engaging with it. Now every time it's just shop. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they need to figure out how to monetize, right? So and also just the nature of that app is FYP as a place of exploration.
Yeah.
Is not designed in a way where the community, like somebody who started following you for you, FYP is not going to constantly feed you. You know what I mean? Unless they actually go to your page and see what you're up to lately.
Right.
Whereas with Instagram, if you do follow that person, eventually that person's content is going to trickle down into your feed.
Exactly. You know I completely agree. And I've definitely been seeing that because sometimes I'll post and people will be like, girl, where you been? I'm like, I'm right here. Like, I've been here.
Yeah. And this is something that's been happening to, I think, all creators that kind of kicked it off on TikTok. And it just, But again, that's just the nature of that app. I think the pros and cons of it is, initial discoverability of that app is so high because of that. High. But to retain that audience, it's also a huge challenge, which I think this incentivizes the creators to want to stay on the app. But then again, from TikTok app's perspective, it's essentially a programming channel. It's no different than TV. So they want to see new faces. Like, so if they see Jasmine and it was like, okay, cool. Like this girl had a boost for the last 6 months and we feel like her audience and retention is kind of going low. Let's find another person who could,
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if they're, and I don't have like a crystal ball on if this is exactly what the people that is overseeing the back end algo of TikTok is doing.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would not be surprised either. Yeah. I'm like 100% with you.
To answer the question about monetization, so number one, just understanding your utility.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. So my utility is humor. All right, great. What are the how can I, if that's what I'm providing, what are the other avenues that I could provide that utility to people? So if it's humor, you're like, okay, cool. Like they love my sketch. can I make different types of formats so that I can get much more platform revenue, right? Is it also available on different platforms? So you start on TikTok, now you're on Instagram. The thing about all of that is YouTube actually is the most robust in terms of monetization. And on top of that, YouTube's the place where like culturally you're already conditioned to say like, comment, subscribe, right? So when you go to a YouTube page, when you go to YouTube, number one, your homepage is way different, and it's first populated with stuff from people that you follow. So it's already different, right? TikTok, you follow someone, you might not see their stuff for
you know what?
6
That's
months.
true. Sometimes I'll like not follow someone because then they're in my FYP more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me just not follow and like continue to like their stuff. It's so wild.
But then
That's so
it also you follow someone wanting them in your FYP and you'll never see them.
and then you never see them.
But
Then
it's
you have to go to
crickets.
like the friends section.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to be on my FYP live.
And also again, like this allows you to build a community. 'Cause
Right.
I have people on my Instagram comments.
Yeah.
Maybe like the same 10 people that tries to comment on every video that I put up. So you've built a relationship with these people, even though like it's just a thumbnail image and I have no idea who these people are because they all have like private accounts and
Yeah.
shit. But at least you know that these people are constantly checking in, whereas you can't really develop that type of rapport in TikTok.
Yeah.
I would say I definitely have some people on TikTok that like I remember from like 2020. Like I just remember seeing their little name and icon, which has never
Right.
changed. Because I don't know, it's someone's mom or someone's dad or uncle, and they just there for the laughs, you know. That I remember, and I'm like, oh my god, what's up? But I agree, and on Instagram, it's a lot more conversational, and you could really develop that rapport better.
Yeah. So I mean, spreading out to different platforms, spreading out to different like surfaces, basically, and canvases, right?
Gotcha.
So like, you do stand up, right? So making that a part of the thing where if you're providing laughter and a release that way on TikTok, then can they see you at a show?
Right.
Can they read your book? Can they listen to your podcast?
Right.
Can they, so can they buy merch? Can
Just
they,
how many mediums can you get,
Yeah.
like to get your message out and like your just awareness out?
And as long as that utility is consistent on every one of those platforms. Because what doesn't work is, hey, I'm providing this utility. I need to make money from this utility. Let me shoehorn in something that is a mechanism for getting money, but doesn't necessarily, it doesn't support the utility that I'm getting from that person.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying? Like you
want everything to be self-serving into each other.
Yeah, like if I'm an Excel content creator and all of a sudden I'm trying to sell like t-shirts,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if that's the utility that I want from the person that I follow to watch Excel, right? But if that person is selling a course on like financial, like, putting together a P&L and like, there's a mastermind on that, then yeah, maybe that makes sense for me.
I agree. And that's why like I'm really selective on like any brands or just products or services, anything that I really work with, because I'm like, if it's not something that I would actually use, then I'm sorry, I just can't.
What was your first brand deal?
My first brand deal was with Numi. And they are like,
Numi, that sounds familiar.
they
What is that?
undershirts that have like these underarm like pads. So
Underarm pads? Like,
yes, it's these little pads in the armpits of the shirt. And
what's
it
the
stops-
functioning purpose?
Because it saves your clothes. Like how many times have you thrown out white tees because the armpits are ugly? Because of deodorant, because of sweat. So your
okay.
clothes last so much longer because you have these undershirts.
Okay.
So that was my first brand deal. And I was very upset. I already bought like 6 of these shirts. They're expensive. So it's worth the splurge. It is worth the splurge. So yeah, that was my first brand deal.
How did
and I
that
was really
come
excited.
about? Did you reach out to them? They reached
My
out to you?
friend wears the shirts and she was like, girl, you need these shirts. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get these shirts. So yeah, so then I reached out to them. And
How did you reach out? Like, was it like a DM?
I just DM'd them. I DM'd them. They responded. They might have sent me to an email afterwards. I can't really remember. But yeah, whenever I want to reach out to a brand, like I'll just DM them. And sometimes they'll like send me a link and be like, oh, do this or do this. Or sometimes they're just like, yeah.
How many of your deals are inbound? How many of them are outbound?
That's a good question. I would say probably 50-50. Yeah, 50-50. I would say a lot of the outbound deals end up being trading like a product for a video. And I think the inbound deals end up being paid.
Right, because inbound is them looking for you, whereas the outbound
Right.
is they have technically the
they
upper
have
hand.
the leverage, right? Of course, because they're like, okay, you want to work with us, so like, how about you do this thing for free? And, and I will again only accept that if it's something that like I really want.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely give me the inbound deals.
How far into you becoming a creator did you get that first deal?
For a while, I didn't want to do any deals because I didn't want to be seen like as an influencer. And then at some point I was like, I kind of just feel like I'm fumbling the bag, especially like if it's something like I would really use. Like there's a way to do deals in a way that's like authentic to, whatever you're doing or like how you live your life. And people follow me just like more for being funny. I think a lot of people like are with me on my journey. Like so many people know that I wrote this show that I want to sell to HBO. And so people follow me more for like just my videos. So I was like, okay, so yeah, let me try to do this and just see how it goes. And I found that there were ways to like do brand deals and, stay authentic to myself and not feel like I'm like trying to tell people, just give all your money to this company. I didn't want it to feel like that.
Was there like a math or like a strategy as to like when you were ready to say, okay?
I think hindsight 2020, I was definitely ready sooner than I actually started. So I wish I had started doing that in 2020. I think I started late 2021 or like early 2022. And I just remember thinking like, damn, I should have been reaching out to brands when I was a micro influencer. Because there are some brands that will only work with micro influencers. They don't want the person with 10,000, 15,000, 20,000.
What is considered a
break
micro?
that down.
Like micro is like 5 to 10,000.
See.
And then you get into like your macro, which is like I think it's like 50,000 to like a few hundred and. There's all these different tiers depending on the company. Sometimes it's 3 tiers, 5 tiers, whatever that company, their thing is. But so a lot of companies, they only want to work with the small influencers because they're more willing to accept the free product in terms of the video. And as those influencers get more brand deals like that, then they get more followers and then they can start monetizing it and saying, no, actually I want to get paid now. So I think that is like a really good path to go if you're looking to monetize and like be an influencer. Again, I was like struggling with I'm not an influencer, I'm a creator, I'm a comedian.
That's funny. I want to hear your thought on the difference between an influencer and a creator.
Well, influencer is pushing a product. Like they want you to buy something. And a comedian and a creator, they have like a different purpose. They're not pushing a product. Like maybe their purpose is just to entertain or just to inform you and educate. But an influencer, like there's a call to action that they want you to do. So that's how I like differentiate it in my head.
Right.
So I didn't want my like page to feel like a store. But at the same time, if your page feels like a store, that means like you getting the deals. I didn't realize like, girl, it's hard to make your page look like a store. Are you rolling in that many influencer deals? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I think hindsight 2020 for anyone learning and just thinking of exploring the space, I would have done that a lot sooner and definitely reached out to brands that want micro influencers because there's so many.
So your inbound stuff, are you working with a manager? You just put your email up? Like, let's go through.
Yeah, inbound stuff. I'm managing it myself right now. I do have like a little fake manager. I'm okay to say this. I would hope that they're not watching this, but and that's because I find that like it can be uncomfortable to negotiate your own rate.
100%.
And especially, they know I'm nice and I don't want to be nice. I don't want to be nice. I just want to like be like, nah, give me this money.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
100%.
I want to like bring out my inner Bronx Dr. G version of myself and be like, run me the dollars, stop playing in my face. So it's easier for me to just do that from a different email of Steven.
Yeah, 100%.
But
we actually preach that for a lot of the people that we talk to that are managing it themselves. Just having a proxy. James Young is the person that I used to use 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
What's your proxy?
Yeah.
Oh, Stephen Williams. I was like, I need a nice generic name. I need it to be a man. And I needed to sound a little Caucasian. So that was my
James Young
strategy.
Jimmy Young. Yeah, exactly.
I
like that.
I like that we both defaulted to white men.
Yeah.
Right. We're like, all right, who's gonna get this money in this world?
I'm sorry, the white man getting the money, like that's real life. So I'm like, let me just get a little white man name.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a gem right there for sure.
Yeah.
I want to see if we could talk about the difference between an influencer and a creator. And I think it's one topic that we want more people to be aware of. And I think the way that you described it is on the right trajectory, which I agree with many points. You know what I mean? Like,
No, I think you're right there. I mean, we're saying the same thing, but in a very succinct, sort of pithy way. An influencer, and you could say influencer is a celebrity, by the way, right? Like, same thing. An influencer is a one-way arrow to an audience. And by one way, it's exactly what you said. They're selling something, whether it's a narrative or an actual product or stardom or like being cool or whatever it is. You're selling something to an audience, right? And I say audience because you're sitting there and you're taking it in. A community is a two-way arrow, right? I'm sorry, a creator is a two-way arrow to a community in that there's a dialogue and there's an exchange, right? And that exchange is essentially utility, right? So it could literally just be like, yo, this person's hot, or this person, like OnlyFans. It could be, hey, this person's funny. Hey, this person is like giving me all the hustle energy for me to go out and like tackle this world.
Right.
This person's teaching me how to cook this meal. This person's telling me what restaurants to go to, right? But it's so different because you're not, to your point, you're not just trying to sell something.
Yeah.
There's a dialogue, right?
There is. And I would say like that dialogue, I think, is the most important. So creators have influence because they're like really tapped into their community. Because of that dialogue, they feel that reciprocity as if like, because you're talking to them back. I'm like in my DMs. I do respond to my DMs. Not all of them, but I respond to a lot of my DMs. I respond to a lot of my comments. I'll screenshot DMs and put it on my story and answer it in a video, green screened in the back. People love that stuff. I'll do my polls on my stories. Like, I'm really tapped into speaking to my audience and, learning more about them and increasing that dialogue, because that's going to make them root for me. Because at the end of the day, I have a long-term goal. Okay, I'm trying to sell my show to HBO. I want people to watch my show. So, I want people to root for me. I want people to follow me on this journey. And I find that people always tell me, you feel so familiar. You feel so familiar. I feel like I'm talking to like my friend, my homegirl, my sister, whoever it is. Like, I feel like I remind people of a lot of people, and they really like that. And yeah, like it just makes me think about like community, like you said, and being tapped into the discourse, the dialogue, versus just being like, hey, go buy this thing.
Yeah,
you know? So yeah.
You want to make yourself available to people, and also you're somebody who is reachable, somebody who's accessible. Now, by no means, I mean like, don't pull up on me in the street because you could get touched in a different way. But my point is like, I mean, I'm sure you probably get this too. Like when you're walking down the street, somebody probably recognize you because this content serves a particular New York algo.
Yes.
And they feel like you're being seen. Like they see you on a train. It's not something that you're living in this different world.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you're a regular person just like them.
I'm just like y'all.
But the utility that you provide is humor, and the product that you're providing is your skits.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
So having said that, you pointed out that words manifest. So I'm sure that eventually, some way, somehow, you will be able to get the deal that you were prophesizing. I want to know why do you want to have a show on HBO or Netflix or wherever like streaming platform?
Yes, I love telling this story.
Yeah.
I'm really inspired by Issa Rae. And in 2020, I was having one of many crises, always have an existential moment. It's a millennial thing. So I was having my existential crisis about like, what is it? Like, what is the thing? Like, what is my like North Star, and what do I want like my long-term impact to be? And, what am I really frustrated about, and how can I resolve it? A lot of questions. And so for me, I'm a cyclebreaker. I'm a first generation college graduate. And that is like very core to my being.
Hold on, I thought a second. What is a cyclebreaker?
A cyclebreaker is someone who is the first in their family to do X, whatever X is. You could be the first in your family to not have a teenage pregnancy. You could be the first in your family to graduate high school and college. You could be the first to move to this country, the first to grow up in this country.
Right.
Like you are just a first. You the first.
I see.
So I'm the first to do a million things. And
list some of those out for us.
Yeah, first to graduate high school, first to graduate college, first to enter corporate America, first to leave corporate America, to pursue my dreams, first to get out the projects and live in a nice apartment. And, that it's obviously a very difficult path to be on, but it's very rewarding. And nobody talks about it. And so bringing it back to being inspired by Issa Rae, she had a masterclass, and I've always knew I want to be on TV. Like, I want to be an actress. I want to have a show. So she had a masterclass, and in her masterclass, she said that she remembers like thinking or reading this article that was like, where's the black Liz Lemon? If you don't watch 30 Rock, Liz Lemon, Tina Fey, very like awkward, funny, quirky character. And she was like, bitch, that's me. I'm that person. And she had her awkward black girl series. So then she was just like, in the masterclass saying like, if there's something you want to see on TV and you would be upset to see it be made and you didn't do it, then you need to go do it. Because you're going to be mad watching it, be like, damn, I could have made that shit. So that is what made me be like, I need to start writing this ASAP. Right. And then so I did.
It's like, why wait when you could do it yourself?
Why wait? Right. Like, yes. And also it's my story that I think is, it obviously is important to me because it's my story, but I think it just resonates with so many people. And I'm already the first. So why not be the first person to make a show about it?
So tell us about the show.
Yeah, it's a show about the cyclebreaker's journey to self-actualization. And, very much about my own life. Obviously some false stuff in there because it is fiction. It's a dramedy.
Yeah, of course.
So it's really funny, some drama. But, she has like this job in corporate America and, she's living in this nice area and, something happens that ends up meaning that she has to go back home to the projects with her family.
Right.
So now she's like thrust back into this old world that she was like, I thought I was done with that. I've worked so hard to get out of that. Now I'm stuck in this again. So it's a story about family. It's a story about connection. It's a story about, wanting to achieve your dreams. She has a dream she's on the path towards achieving outside of corporate America. And also it's a story about like, a lot of themes in it about, there's a lot of stuff that happens when you are a cycle breaker that really impacts your family dynamics that nobody talks about. Yeah. So like changing your class, that like is going to impact your relationships.
Right. Let me ask you this very politely. Mm-hmm. How many, if you have nephews or nieces, how many of them ask you for things?
Yeah. That's part of the journey,
Like how many relatives is like checking in?
Yeah. For things, sometimes people ask for things. And also like even like outside of, being asked for things. So for some people, they really end up being the cash cow, right? I'm not going to say that's my story, but I would say for me, I'm a lot of people or a few people's like moment of peace, savings grace, escape.
They share their problems with you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's something that I think is part of me. I feel like I'm naturally just like a healing person. But I think when people do break cycles, people are constantly going to look to you for like, whether it's advice, whether it's like, a lending ear, just something. And at the same time, it's like kind of a double-edged sword because sometimes I'm the youngest in my family. So to be able to like do that, it's like that makes people feel insecure because like you're younger than me and you're trying to mother me,
right.
And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just trying to like, I've had a lot of life experiences very different from yours. I'm just trying to like put you on game a little bit. Right. And just because I'm young, that don't mean that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, I
know what I'm talking about. You should take notes. Because I did this shit. But that could come off to some people as like condescending.
100%.
So I think it really, it's hard to be the cycle breaker in family dynamics where people are really insecure and don't want to seek personal healing on their own. Because being a cycle breaker, you are like breaking quite a few generational curses. But, you start your own, at least for me, I'm starting my own generational healing process. So I'm trying to heal, and being around people who are not healed, it's a problem.
And also again, I say this very politely, it's like you might be around people that don't want to be healed.
And that is something that it's still to this day have to come to terms with, like J. Cole said, don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Yeah. Like not everybody want to be saved.
Right.
Whether that's not saving, like, here's $1 million. I don't got $1 million, but like whether it's saving mentally, emotionally, helping to level up people's mindset and like just awareness. Not everyone wants that. Not everyone is capable of that. And I think that takes a lot of, the ability to see yourself objectively, which not everyone can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a kindred spirits in that because we talk about this a lot, right? We talk about how, the family, I mean, you could talk about yourself, man. Like, I mean, you're kind of a cyclebreaker in your family, right?
I am first to go to college, first to, everything.
First to exit a company,
yeah,
first
to know about equity, first to,
yes.
and then, just all of it. No, I mean, yes, I feel you, and I empathize with you.
Yeah.
I guess more importantly, like, what are you doing towards trying to get the show?
Yes. So I just filmed. So last summer I filmed a trailer, and so it's been in editing, and literally like I need a few more shots. So I'm going to shoot those shots this Saturday. So once the trailer is done, I'm going to show it to someone that said, yo, show it to me. And, maybe I'll help you get in the HBO room. So I'm going to show it to that person and see how that goes. But the plan, honestly, is
and we could take this out, but can you tell us a little bit about who this person is?
Yeah. I'll take it, but take this out. Take this out, though.
We'll do.
So she's a comedian, and she made a book. And I think she's so funny. I've gone to her shows a bunch of times, and I was very inspired by her writing a book because I've always wanted to write a book. And I know the book I want to write. And so I just wanted to talk to her, like, how did you get the courage to write a book? Because, you write a book and people come at you like, why are you putting the family's business outside? Why are you airing out the dirty laundry? This is stuff nobody talks about, especially in like Puerto Rican cultures.
Those are the best books.
Those are the best books. And you also help people who are in the same exact situation where people are like, we don't talk about that. You help them by having a book where you talk about that shit. People be like, wow, I'm not the only one. People resonate with that. So I just really love that she wrote a book, and I was chit-chatting with her about it. And I was like, yeah, I want to write a book. She's like, what do you want to write it about? So I was talking to her about that, and I was like, yeah, but first, I got to get my show. I wrote a show. It's amazing. I gave her the rundown of the show, and she was like, wow, that sounds great. I'm like, yes. I'm, making the trailer right now. And she was like, well, when the trailer's done, show it to me. Show it to me. And I'll see if I could help you in any way. And I was like, okay. So obviously no promises, but just the fact that she's willing to watch my trailer, I was like, oh, okay, I feel so good.
Yeah.
Because, in order to get into the room with HBO, you need a manager or a lawyer. You need someone to represent you. They're never going to see you otherwise. It's literally like illegal because God forbid you say your idea, they steal your idea. You don't have no one representing you. So you need to have someone representing you. So I'm just hoping if she loves the trailer, she'd be like, oh, actually, I know someone that like may want to manage you, or someone that a lawyer that could help you, or something like that. So that's my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna get it there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the tenacity and your drive and the consistency is going to eventually work its way. Let's put the food down first, because
yes.
Sad news, they didn't give us chopsticks.
What the fuck?
No
Sushi
chopstick?
and no chopsticks.
Yo, that's like it's
my God.
It's highly disrespectful, yo. I think your tenacity and your consistency and your work ethic is eventually going to get you there. But my question is, if that's what you really want to do, why do you need them to give you access? Why do you need their permission?
Because I cannot afford to make all those episodes and just drop it on YouTube. It's a money thing. Also, I feel like these networks now, like selling a show now is way more difficult than the way it used to be. You used to be able to sell a show just like with a conversation or like a yellow pad with some notes on it. And now it's like you need to have a show Bible, you need to have a trailer, you need to have a pilot, you need to have the entire season thought out of what you want each episode to be. But it can't be so complete that they can't put their own mark on it as the network. Like, they have offset like all of the cost of developing a show to the writer before they even walk in the room. And so I think that's kind of crazy. So I just don't have the means to go make that show. Like, I need someone that's going to pay for those episodes.
Did you go to film school? What did you study, if you don't?
No, I studied psychology.
Okay.
And yeah, I kind of just self-taught myself everything. I learned a bunch on masterclass about script writing, screenwriting.
We call that shit jungle, as in like, yo, if we put you in the jungle, you're gonna survive.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not dying in no jungle.
Yeah,
I'll fight a monkey. Who's in the jungle? Who am I fighting? Because I'm living. I'll eat the bugs.
So that's what I mean. Again, this adds back to the tenacity part. You mentioned Issa Rae. She built everything on YouTube
on Awkward Black Girl
before anybody started hollering at her, because she didn't want to wait. It was like, why do I need your permission when I could just, of course, it probably wasn't the same quality of what she thought she wants to get. Right. I mean, it was shot in a way that what a YouTube show at the time
it was
looked
like 3-minute episodes.
Exactly. So, but at the end of the day, she was able to get to where she got to because she just did it. You know what I mean? So
I feel you. So I think so my original thought was like, you know what? I'm gonna make this trailer. I'm gonna drop it on social media. It's gonna go wild, and they're gonna be like, oh my God, we need this show. Okay, so then I was talking to this person, and they were like, nah, like, just take it directly to them. Take it directly to them. And then if they don't want it, then you drop it on social media. Then it goes viral. Then they realize they made a mistake. And then they'll call you back in. I was like, okay, I like that. Like, I'm totally fine and, willing to try that path. So that's like my new path now. In terms of like making what I want to see, I think a piece of me is like, doesn't want to dilute this really good idea for like a social media version. And, I have created content in the same like arena. So like I have this Put You on Game series and I only made like 5 episodes for it on Instagram. So like if you scroll back, there's like, oh my God, it's a while ago. But it says Put You on Game and it's like a picture of like a brain. It's a black and white cover on my reels. And that one is literally like 2 cycle breakers talking and realizing that they're breaking a cycle. So I did it with my friend Glorelli. She's a comedian too. So like there's one, where she is... not using her dishwasher. And I'm like, why aren't you using a dishwasher? She's like, girl, like, I'm not using a white man's machine. What are you talking about? And I'm like, Glory, like, you don't have to clean the dishes. Like, you made it. You have a dishwasher. We don't have to be like our parents. And she's like, what are you telling me? What are you telling me? And I'm like, what I'm telling you is like, you don't got to do labor anymore. So like touching again on the same themes of like being a cycle breaker, but like for little tiny funny things.
I think you just gave us a great example.
Example. I should have continued it. I just haven't continued it. I know. I dropped the ball on that one.
I guess, in hindsight, if you continue that and that was essentially the premise of the show that you want to get greenlighted, wouldn't it make sense if you built a following through that format and you built a community? Then you already have a proof of concept that somebody in the studio, somebody who's a production company, somebody who's an agent will look at it and be like, yo, I feel like I could come in and flip this. Because they already see the proof of concept and they already see 100,000 followers following this alone.
Absolutely. That was my plan with that. You actually inspiring me to go pick that shit back up. Like, girl, pick it back up. Get those episodes done. I have a bunch of episode ideas like in a bulleted list.
I think despite the intent, you had the answers and you have the attitude and you have the work ethic. You should have I think you should stick to your plan.
Oh, I could do both.
Yeah.
I'm making content anyway.
Why do you say that?
I mean, it's being able to have complete control and vertical integration and being able to essentially like win or lose. It's because you put it out there, right? You're not waiting for a gatekeeper to say yes and no. And you're not having to
you're talking about dropping the trailer.
Yeah.
For sure. I agree.
Before I bring it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to dig into some very specific things that are big themes on how we look at the world. But I don't want to cheapen it by making this a social media thing. Here's the thing: Mr. Beast is more powerful than the NFL. He drops a video every Saturday that gets more viewership than the Super Bowl every week, right?
I meant like.
No. What I'm saying is, but like the people at HBO, we can get you a meeting at HBO. Like we could definitely call the network and get you a meeting there. But my point is, the people that are buying they have all this weird stuff that they have to deal with because they have certain things that they have to try and uphold. And there's, they're not even real shot callers is my point, right? Right. Number two, the market for what they're buying is completely different, right? And so like they're going to continue to double down on the Game of Thrones and all these new startup type things. They're not going to be able to gamble on anymore, right? So like, and overall, it's like you are actually going to do more numbers doing your thing consistently across your platforms that you own than you will through them. Like that's our radical worldview, and it's not radical because it's more powerful. When we got a New York Times write up, we're like, yo, that's great, man. Like, yo, I can show my mom, and that's exciting. But you know what? Does that move the needle for us in our community?
It didn't.
No.
Like, I didn't get that many new followers.
You know,
what I mean?
like Netflix, having a Netflix deal, brand audience revenue. We think about that all the time, right? The only reason why we would get excited about a Netflix deal is because it gives us new distribution to new audiences that we don't already have. They're not gonna pay us a ton of money. The model for television is completely changing, right? So you're not gonna be able to get into a residual like a syndication type situation anyway. You're going to be making more money from the other platforms, right? So if it's not money and it's like the only thing that they're providing is prestige, right?
Is the fact that, I have a Netflix show.
Yeah. Right. No, I totally agree. I mean, there's a little bit of money. Obviously not mad money. Because they do be cheap. But I mean, like the writer strike. So I hear you.
But even just that, sorry. Writer strike. All these different variables that are beyond your control.
Right.
Like, you don't know when the next writer strike is going to happen.
True.
Sora, the AI app, making videos, the development of some of these AI apps that are coming out right now, whether we want to say that we're against it or not, is beyond our control. It's the Pandora's box is already open.
Right.
So more writer strikes are going to happen. More disputes are going to happen. And that particular sector in the industry is going to continuously metamorph and shape and reshape and change so that like you're essentially licking your finger and putting your finger in the air to see, like, what's the weather going to be like? It's like you can't tell what's going on. Whereas with the 100,000 plus community members that you have, you know where they at. And you know that they watch you for a particular reason.
Yeah.
So you just indexing to them and you own that distribution channel. It's not like you have to, like, I know right now on HBO, Hulu, and all these channels, you see all these Black, Brown, East Asian, different folks getting their own shows finally greenlighted, right? But those things were greenlighted back in like 2019, 2020.
It's true, they sit them on the shelf.
Yeah, that's why they're finally coming out. But the conversation, and this is not even a hidden thing, all those DEI, diversity and inclusion checks, they're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're firing a lot of people in the
I'm going to be honest with you, like maybe 3 years ago, if you and I get into the room, I have a show, you have a show, be like, yo, we need a Puerto Rican girl. So we need to check that off. You know what I mean? Sorry, yeah. So we need a Puerto Rican girl, so we need to check that off. Yo, we need an East Asian guy. We need to check that off. So yo, give each of them a show. Be like, yo, the budget is not going to be the same as the budget that we're paying some of these white folks, but we're each going to get a show. But even those checks are gone. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so I don't get to own the distribution. You're taking my IP away. You're giving me a smaller budget and those same checks that you kind of were giving people out for sympathy. You know what I mean? Just because the climate was forcing you to do this, like you're not even giving those out. So at the end of the day, what is the return of investment on this? For all this time and energy that I put out there. So, you know what I mean? So, and that's, I have this conversation with folks all the time. And another thing is, we got to index into the younger folks that are watching this, right? Because, I don't know how old you are, but you said that you're a millennial.
I'm 30.
Okay, so I'm 34, turning 35 soon. We grew, we have a certain vision of what kind of, how do we access content? Like TV, internet. And for us, there is a differentiation because we grew up listening to the radio, these type of media. Yeah. It's like, we know what that is. But for his kids, who's like 4, there's no difference between YouTube, TV, Netflix.
There's no difference.
There's no difference.
Absolutely.
Everything is on the iPad. There's
Yep.
no difference.
That's
so
true.
so at the end of the day, it's like, yo, market share. What is market share? Is how much time that you're on the platforms. So if his kid who's 4 or 5 is scrolling through YouTube Shorts for 6 hours, he's not gonna go and say, yo, now that I just scrolled through 6 hours of YouTube Shorts, now it's time for me to invest 3 hours on Netflix. Like, no, that's it. That's his TV. That's it, dunzo, no mas.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So if that's the case, we need to go where the eyeballs are, right? That's why you and I have 100,000 plus followers.
I think I agree. And I agree with both of you guys 100%. Especially in terms of like just doing something consistent on the internet, get your proof of concept out. So and yeah, that's the reason I said I could do them both at the same time, because like I could do that and still go like, you know, make my trailer, show it to HBO. If they don't want it, I could still drop it and then make episodes after that. I can still do that. You know, they can happen at the same time. I think in terms of like what's the ROI, I think doors opening. You haven't, like you said, it's prestige, right? So like, oh, she has a show on HBO. Oh, okay. So maybe more opportunities will come her way to attract more because of this, you know, feat that you have just done.
So I just want to be super clear. We agree on everything, actually. So, you know, let's just be blatant about it. You know, what you're talking about. I mean, so with the New York Times article, and I'll talk from our own testimony, we're like, oh, you know why that matters? Because that'll put us in front of more white people or the people that cut checks.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, not specifically just white people. Older white people.
Older white people that cut checks.
And that was always my
because they're not on TikTok, but they are reading the newspaper. Right?
Got
We
you.
call it the Sunset Boulevard billboard, right? The Sunset Boulevard billboard. I'm from LA.
I like
Sunset
that.
Boulevard billboard. It costs a lot of money to advertise there, but your ROI in terms of like how many people, how many impressions you get is very low.
100%.
But it literally only matters because 200 people need to see that sign.
Got
It's 100 TV executives and studio heads and 100
Like
stars,
agents.
agents, and other artists that are like, oh shit, Brian just did a show with Netflix. I want to do a show with Netflix. Hey, Jaeki just did a show with CBS. That means it's cool. I need to do a show with CBS.
Right.
So in that regard, I completely agree with you on all of it. The only thing that I was trying to point out actually was the reframing and the consciousness of looking at the deal, looking at the HBO deal, not as, oh, when I get it, I arrive. It's like, oh, when I get it, it's just another thing that's part of my master plan and the thing that
Absolutely.
I'm building, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, especially like for what you said, that made me think about how like the whole reason that I was like, you know what, I'm gonna build a really big following.
Yeah.
It's to attract people that could bring me closer to the long-term goal of getting my show on HBO. Because I mean, it's prestige and, you know, whatever money they give me, whatever. But ultimately, I just want as many people as possible to see their show.
So
you know?
if that's the
Yeah,
case,
that's distribution.
It's the distribution.
But if that's the case, HBO is probably gonna be lackluster than you building this on your own.
It's an irony where in order for them to pick it up, it's already when you don't need them. That's reality. That's facts.
Got you. Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm gonna let that simmer.
Yeah.
Because I mean, how many views are we doing a month on Righteous Eats, like collectively?
20 to 25.
28 to 25 mil, 28 million, like on a like 30 mil on a good month.
Right.
Right.
So you don't need Netflix.
Well, we still want Netflix.
You could, yeah,
I would love to welcome working with Netflix or HBO or whichever one of these platforms. It's just that our audience, the eyeball, is here. You know what I mean? Is here. That's where the eyeballs are.
Right.
So that Netflix or the HBO situation, like I mean, I would love to like shake hands, kiss babies, go on the red carpet. You know what I mean? Tell my mom, yo, look at me now. You know what I mean? All that. I would love to do all of that, but the point is like the audience will celebrate that, but I don't think it's gonna be a huge uptick in terms of our visibility.
No, what I'm saying is it's literally going to be lower.
Right.
It's just going to be a different audience.
Yeah.
Netflix, like traditional media, air quotes,
Right.
it literally just indexes to older people that aren't on the platforms yet.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the newspaper, it's Broadway, it's Broadway's not going to go anywhere. TV is not going to go anywhere. Like you're still going to have fast
But
channels.
even like older people, like yo, my pops is on YouTube 6 hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Everybody's on YouTube.
What are we talking
Everybody's
about?
on YouTube.
Yeah,
at
but
this point.
YouTube is, I mean, so the thing is like, I've been making YouTube videos since 2008. I was in Korea trying to sign K-pop channels in 2013, being like, yo, you guys are going to, like, all this stuff. And back then it was crazy. And now it's like, everyone says, oh yeah, YouTube is the new TV. And my point is, no, like the new YouTube is actually TikTok. The new, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and the irony in all of this is you got to get to a place where you have so much leverage with the things that you own that HBO will come to you and say, okay, I mean, they're in the subs business, right? So it's all about implied sub and implied value.
What do you mean subs?
Subscribers.
Subscribers, got you.
So
like-
subscriptions.
So the way that, because they have shareholders,
Right, of course.
and they need to show, you know, daily active users or subscribers or whatever it might
The
be.
obsessive growth in capitalism.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
how
yeah,
much more can we get?
100%.
How much more can we get? How many more people can we get on here?
Yeah, right. And then churn and all of that. So it's like when they're giving you a show, they're gonna say like, oh, okay. And they're Luddites. They don't understand this shit. They buy it and they sell it. That's what they do, right? And when they look at it, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, so she has 4 million followers. That should be, you know, an average of, let's say we get 2% conversion. Okay, that's great for X amount of subs. Okay, then we could greenlight it for this much.
It's just numbers. That's terrible.
It's all numbers.
I hate it.
It's not someone that's like, you know what? I love your story and I believe in you. I'm gonna greenlight it.
You know what though?
Yeah.
I really hate that because obviously I'm going for the I believe in you. I'm a green light it. I get it. That's a 1 in a million, and I'm okay to chase the 1 in a million.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. But in terms of like the whole numbers piece of it, I hate that, and I think it's like across so many different industries. It's like everyone needs to be a content creator. And I feel like that sucks the creativity out of it. Obviously depends on who you are and what's your industry. Not everyone wants to fucking be a content creator. That doesn't mean you don't have a bomb ass like pilot. That doesn't mean you don't have a really good show or a really good song because your shit didn't pop. And it's just, I just feel like the whole entertainment industry is really broken in that regard of being like, okay, well, what's your numbers?
I think so I would agree with you, but I actually think that you got to zoom out farther to say that everyone in the world needs to be a content creator. So if you're a dentist and you don't know how to make content, who's going to know you?
Well, like Gary Vee says, you have to be a media company first, and then whatever your company is, that's second.
Yeah.
Because if you're not making media, no one's looking at you.
Yeah, and it's not the world's job to figure out who you are and how nuanced you are and how great you are and why you're the best plumber and why you're the great. Like, that's not like, dude, we all have so many problems. We all have so much time. We all have so many different things that we got to do. So if you can't stand up and essentially market yourself or tell your story, right, then no one else is going to get that story from you.
I agree. And just remember what I said about like, you know, these streamers, networks, they offset the entire cost of the development of the show or like a large chunk of it to the writer before you even step in the room. I feel like it's the same thing in terms of marketing. Like, it's like you have to have this many followers. You need to do this, in whatever industry it is. Okay, a lot of creative industries are like that. Like, isn't that your job? Like, y'all supposed to be pushing money and do marketing. And so it's like,
Yeah, but
they offset that to you too.
Yeah, it's broken.
It's so broken.
But what I'm saying is that's your leverage, right? So, you know, studios, television companies, production companies, there's P&A, right? And by the way, you know, publicity and advertising, right? P&A, promotions and whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, you can make a great movie, but if people don't know about it, no one's going to see it, right? So you have to allocate a certain budget towards that, right? That's just the way that it is. That's actually no different from making a great shoe or making a great cologne or making a great whatever.
Making a great sushi.
Yeah, making a great sushi.
Everything got to be marketed.
Yeah, everything has to. And that's why I'm saying the old way of things being done, which was make it. And this is definitely a dated reference, but there was a movie called Field of Dreams. And the famous quote from Field of Dreams was, build it and they will come. Like if you build a baseball field, people will come and play on it, like whatever.
Yeah.
The days of that are no longer because you have to be able to build community and product at the same time, right? You can't just make, hey, I have an idea for this awesome shoe. And you know what? I'll make the shoe and then I'll raise a bunch of money and run Facebook ads or a TV commercial or a magazine. I'll hire a publicist to make sure that it's on there.
Nope, it has to go at the same time.
It has to go at the same time.
But that's also because people want to be included on the journey, and that's literally how you build community.
That's what I'm saying. So,
And I think you
and,
already,
and you're already doing that.
I'm already
You're
doing that. I've been doing that for
Yeah.
years. Like I have people that have been
Yeah.
following me since like 2018, and they're like, "Girl, we still here." And I'm like, "It's gonna happen."
That's what I'm saying. You're so ahead of it. And if anything, it's like, hey, I'm talking about my Netflix thing. Or I'm talking about my show, and it'd be great if I can work with Netflix, but I'm going to do it anyway. Here's V1, here's V2, here's V3, and that journey and that leverage that you'll have, they're going to need it anyway. That's the irony in all of this, right?
Right.
Like the biggest movie stars in the world consciously went and did that. The Rock, Kevin Hart, all these people, they all
Ryan
build
Reynolds,
in Ryan Reynolds. They all build in P&A in that. Yo, you sign me. Not only do you get the talent, you're getting my distribution and my platform.
Right.
That gives
right.
them so much more leverage to be the next Deadpool. That gives them so much leverage to be the next superstar.
Yes,
You know?
and that's why I work so hard to like continue to build my following. And sometimes sometimes I just post shit like just straight off the dome. Other times I'm like, oh, okay, like let me think about like something really good that I want to put out.
Yeah.
It's like a mix of everything. And other times I'm like, oh, let me post a piece of my journey today.
Yeah. I don't want you, and by the way, like if anything, all of this comes from a place of like, dude, you're killing it. You're crushing it. You basically, I just want to reiterate, you don't need them or anything for you to get exactly what you want, right? It's almost like when I started on YouTube and I was working with a lot of musicians, a lot of them would think like, yeah, I'll do this thing, but all I need is like, I'm going to do this until I get a record deal. That's what this feels like a little bit, right? You're like, why do you need a record deal when you're already getting more views? You're already better at marketing yourself. You're already better at telling your story. You don't even the things that they used to be able to provide for you, a studio, access to the like you literally
music video budget.
all that stuff you literally have access to. Even the person like you just DM them and you're like, hey, this is my thing. I you know what I mean? So all these things that they used to be able to provide you, they no longer provide you, and the only thing that they rely on is distribution, or capital. And all these things are commodity now, right?
Especially, I feel like, the answer to, I feel like it's just like a money thing, like.
So how much money do you need? Like, let's say.
I need a lot of money. So like a lot of there's a lot of different locations of my show because she's in so many different worlds. She's in the corporate office. Like I need an office. Okay. I need a big meeting room. I need 15 people willing to be there.
Okay, how long do you need the meeting room for?
I don't know. Like, there's a lot of scenes in there.
Oh, no, so let's just break it. Let's break it. Like, give us a ballpark of how much. Like, let's say, how many episodes do you envision for the first season?
First season, like 8.
Okay, so
8 max.
Do you have a ballpark of how much it will cost for you? And think of it in a way where not everybody's gonna get sushi for lunch. You know what I mean? It's gonna be tight, but you're doing it so that you could get shit done. Right? So this is the Louis C.K. model, right? I mean, when he had his show on FX, he was like, yo, what's a check that you could cut me that your higher ups are not going to budge an eye? Give me that check because I just want to get this shit green lighted. And I'll fucking edit it. I'll direct it. I'll write it. I'll act in it. I'll do all of this shit. But I just want to get my show in there first. You know what I mean? So having said that.
So is that what he did with Louis?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So having said that, what is like a ballpark per episode if you had a number?
I would have to ask my producer. I actually don't love producing. I don't love
Right.
budgeting.
Yeah,
I don't love none of that. And my producer that helped me shoot it, he was like, all right, like how much you want to shoot this for? And I'm like, let's say $2,000.
Right.
He was like, okay, don't worry, I'm gonna keep you there. I'm gonna, and he did it.
Yeah.
We were able to shoot like the trailer for like $2,000. And I was really happy about that. And so I mean, I would have to ask him, but the trailer again, it was like a few minutes.
Yeah.
So even if like mine is like a 1-hour dramedy, and I'm actually considering, turning it into like a 30-minute, just so that way it's like, I guess, more digestible, and it's not an ensemble cast. So to write like a 1-hour dramedy based on one person, that's just a lot. I would rather do, I think, a 30-minute if it's based on one person. Yeah. But I also have the opportunity to make it an ensemble cast. And this is something I've been thinking about after, filming the trailer. But yeah, I think it would definitely be really expensive, but maybe not as much if I turned it into a 30-minute. I don't know.
Well, a 30 is really a 22.
A 30 is really a 22.
The bigger point is like just thinking from first principles, right? Like, why not?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, thinking from first principles. I mean, so I'll tell you right now, the Louis C.K. number was 200,000. That's probably less than what you think you need.
That's like I could probably film it myself for like less, like half of that, maybe 100K probably.
We know TV producers that produce for Netflix, for HBO Max actually, and we're like, and we asked them like, how much is a show? And actually, we're talking to TV producers for Rent Your Seats, right? I'm like, how much you guys thinking for an episode? He's like, thinking like 150, 200, right? Per
they got dollars.
Right? But I'm like, why?
But you know what? That dollar is actually shaved off. Back in the day, they was getting like 800 to a milli for a fucking food documentary episode.
Crazy.
And,
You know what I mean?
what-
So imagine what they were paying for fucking actual scripted dramas. You know what I mean?
and my point is, there's a kid, you, me, us, that could say, I'll do the entire series for 100 or 200. But more importantly, the world is going to change where the people that are going to be in charge are the ones that can do the entire show for 10,000. It's understanding how to change the narrative in the conversation.
And so you already know step one, which is my manager is Steven Williams. You know what I mean? Like, so you already know step one. So step two is
Stephen Williams saying, thank you so much for reaching out to us. We think that's a great opportunity. Are you talking about just distribution on our channel, or would this also include the creative direction? Because, we have a creative director that could come on and help come up with the concept. Oh, great. Does this also have production? Okay, now great. Again, don't look at me as an influencer. You got to look at me as look at this holistically as an agency, because essentially you're providing all the same things. Oh, wait, you want to run my ad as part of your whitelisted ad campaign? Great. So now you have an asset that you normally would have to pay an agency to produce for you, right? So that's a different thing. Don't come to me with like, we'll give you $5,000 for one video. No, you could give me that for my producer's fee. You could give it's just understanding that fluency, right?
Absolutely, like that. And that's why I don't really let anybody whitelist my content, because I'm like, if you want to whitelist my content,
but if they want to whitelist your content, they better pay up that extra bread.
Yeah, like you're gonna have to give me a fat stack, because I have literally supplemented a producer, director, an editor, like the lighting people. You don't have to book a location. Come on. 100% agree with you. 100%.
Yeah,
But actually, there's certain times where we want them to whitelist, but then we play it like we don't.
Yeah.
If they're going to subsidize your growth to a whole new community, why wouldn't you? Michael Jordan's deal, he took less money up front because he takes $1 million a year up front, but he makes sure that they spend $5 million a year in advertising. Right?
Right. Y'all so smart.
No, I'm just saying, like.
No, I love it. I feel like these are new like business, just business thoughts that.
It's just having.
It's new to me. Thank you.
It's just having control of. Again, I think you should try to get an HBO show, but it's understanding exactly what an HBO show is and what purpose they're serving, rather than them trying to serve like you serve them.
So again, I don't think that's the arrival for you. If anything, it's a stepping stone for you. But how do you get to that stepping stone so that you're milking everything on the way? And I think just frankly, like if I have to break down a few steps, it's like, having a transparent conversation with your community and make everything very visible. And it's like, I had this conversation with so-and-so, whatever, and it didn't go well. So I'm going to just start making short forms of this content. And I want y'all to pitch in ideas. Are you a cyclebreaker? Give me an idea. You know what I mean? And just make it a movement instead of like, I got this thing that's, that I'm holding on to and I'm just waiting for somebody to like give me the check.
I get it. So like call on the cyclebreaker community to.
Yeah, just make it a thing where everybody has a stake in it. And then once you build that into a movement, once people are like talking about like, like this whole narrative about like they pull, like once people start pulling you up on the street and telling you like, your story has inspired me to do X, Y, Z, that's when like, this is not just a content channel. This is a real community that I have. And I guarantee you, when you get to that point, they're going to start hollering at you without you even looking for it. Yeah. You're going to have like producers in your DMs saying this type of shit.
So that producer in my DMs is what made the trailer.
Let me give you a premise. Like they're going to be like, I'm so-and-so for so-and-so production company. My company has worked for this Hulu. My company has done work for it's not even like I work for Hulu shit. You know what I mean? It's like my company has done work for Hulu, so and so and so and so. Can we have a meeting with you? You know what I mean? And then they'll basically give you the role, like run around. They'll be like, oh yeah, we've done X, Y, Z. Like they'll fucking have like an older dude in there always. You know what I mean? Telling you like
perception.
Yeah, it's like I'm the older guy. You know what I mean? Like I've done so many shows. You know, we love your shit. But if you work with us, if you sign this fucking development deal with us, you know, we get like 12-month period for us to work on something, and if this IP doesn't like exploit itself, like you can't get to have it, we get to have it, and we get to split it. You know what I mean? They give you the whole like they want to dance with you. You know what I mean? And yo, like,
have you thought about if HBO the trailer right now, if you let's say it's ready, you send it to them, they're like, this is great. Do you know how long it'll take for them to make that?
Oh my God, probably like 3 years.
Yes,
I know, it's wild. It's wild.
So
that wouldn't be on TV for another four or 5 years.
3 years later, we might not even exist. We might all be on Neuralink.
You know what I mean? And not only that, in 3 years, if you went hard, 3 years, I guarantee your show's gonna be your show that you're doing, the exact same format, whether it's Cyclebreakers or this other show, it's gonna be bigger. That's my point.
So yeah, I think, to his point, I think you should definitely pitch the trailer, but don't make your life around getting that, because that's gonna hold you up from having this opportunity to build your own.
He's
shit.
that example. It's actually, it happens every day. Like that, I'm so and so from. By the way, but like Oscar winning,
maybe not every
day. It happens once a quarter.
Okay,
for sure
once a quarter.
Right?
Once a quarter.
It happens once a quarter.
We get a producer.
Oscar winning producer. Oscar winning, Emmy winning production company, and it's the same thing. And so usually, and guess what? We'll still take the meeting, but you know what? Instead of them doing the song and dance, we're like, so not interested, right? Not interested in terms of like, if you want us to go put together a package, go out, pitch it, sell it, wait for them to say, okay, yes, no, like all that, not interested because we just don't have the bandwidth, just being super candid. If you're asking for a non-exclusive right and some assets for us to go into your Bible, into the deck, sure, go for it. Knock yourself out.
Okay. I think
so it's just understanding.
I love that,
and letting them work for you.
Going in, like knowing exactly what you're willing to do and not willing to do.
Yeah, because if you go in knowing that, then you know that the HBO deal is literally them just a license for the show that you've already created, that you own all the IP for, but they have rights to the US only for a certain period of time, and now you could exploit it.
They're gonna try to hit you with the global rights from the get. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Jaeki also produced a full-length feature documentary too, right? Yeah. So like, it's. Yeah,
I think for me, like when you said that, I thought about how, like, I'm not in any way like thirst to sell into a bad deal. So like a couple of like, I know non-negotiables for me, and you know what, it probably won't even work for HBO, but it's my non-negotiable. So if it don't work, it don't work. Then I'll figure out a way, do it myself. So now that you say this, I'm like, damn, I probably should start just figuring this shit out, how to do it myself. But like non-negotiable for me is, they often like buy things and then leave it on the shelf and never make it. Yeah. Like, I'm not signing anything without a guarantee that this is greenlit and we are going to start filming this shit this year.
That's the record deal. That's what I'm saying. A record deal will sign you and then they'll shelve you.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not signing over my IP and I'm not being shelved. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, then like go to the next bitch, because honestly, I don't know what it's like to have an HBO show. So I don't know what I'm missing.
We always want to make sure that people index towards their own action, their own destiny, and ownership at the end of the day.
Ownership.
Fuck giving other people ownership into the shit that you create.
I agree.
You should have ownership in what you create.
Yeah, because that executive that's going to greenlight your shit about your life living in Castle Hill and the PJs. The fuck does that motherfucker know about that shit?
Nothing.
But why is that motherfucker needs to get 15% off that? Just because he knows how to make a few phone calls.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
I feel you.
You know what I mean?
You. Yeah, no,
Like,
I do.
Yeah, so I whenever we meet kindred spirits like yourself, like,
yeah, I think the underlying thing is we see we wouldn't say this to everyone. Like, it's only because you have the drive to be able to make it happen.
Because like once you explain, like if you pulled up, it's like, yo, I got this crazy idea, And you know, I know it's gonna happen. Then we're like, yo, let's calm down. Maybe the convo would have went a different direction. But you was like, yo, I learned all this shit by myself. I'm a cycle breaker. I've already started this. I already paid for my own trailer. I already know what I want.
Yep.
So all of it, we're like, yes,
like-
and then we're like, oh, what's the goal? Wait, what? Why do you need that? When you already have more access and more leverage than you think you do.
Yeah, I really appreciate this perspective. This is my first time hearing this perspective in terms of like just asking the question, like, why do you need HBO? I don't think I've ever asked myself that question or been asked that question. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna think about that.
It's like the person that you wanted to date or you wanted to smash or whatever it may be. And you're like, yo, I just know that's the person. That's the one. But you never went on a date with that person. Like you never had a conversation with that person.
Right.
Like the perception that you have of that person is just what you saw from the outside.
Yeah, and then when you really start breaking it down, you're like, wait, what are the qualities of why that would be meaningful? It's a record label deal again. You're like, oh, because when we grew up, because you signed a deal, that means you made it. That means this. That
You
means
need the
that.
Rockefeller chain. You know what I mean? You're like, it's like
You need all that, right? And then
Yeah.
you really think about it, you're like, wait a minute. So they're not even gonna market your shit for you? Like you're still responsible, or if they market it, they're gonna take it out of the advanced and the credit card loan that they essentially gave you. Plus, you don't own that shit.
Get the fuck outta
all,
here.
That's what I'm saying, right? All that
No.
stuff, right? But then that's not to say. I will say, the biggest best artists, they do use them. They use them. They're like, cool. I'm gonna roll.
Right.
I'll roll up. We'll do a licensing deal. You could distribute my shit on my behalf. It'll be a 5-year term. I still own it. It's a license in this territory, and you control everything.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you know that you're gonna have to fucking make the content to promote it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
I feel like I have so much to think about. No, for real. I'm very, very grateful for this conversation. Thank you.
I appreciate you for
And
coming
I want
up
to.
here.
Yeah, I really want to think about that because like my producer, he had hit me up on Instagram, not on Instagram. He emailed me, and just a really nice message like, hey, probably get a bunch of emails, but I'm a producer. I've worked on so, and I would love to film your thing for you. What, like in any way, I just want to work with you. And I get this often. Not from producers, but like from people with like from different areas. So like this was my producer hitting me up. Like it recently happened with someone that owns a coffee roaster, also from the Bronx. So now I got my own coffee brand dropping soon. And then it recently this week, like a creative hit me up. I was like, yo, I want to make you a coffee commercial. I'm like, okay, that was an amazing conversation. And these are all just people that's like, yo, I just really fuck with you and I really want to work with you. So
I have a question to that. You're gonna get more of those.
I know.
You're gonna get so many more. But here's the thing, right? Once, because there's only so much time that you have in a day,
right,
in a week. So 24 hours. Let's say you get your beauty naps and 8 hours of sleep. So make sure you stay looking good.
Yeah.
So that's like 16. Boom. So 16. Yo, you gotta eat, wash yourself, whatever. So by the end of the day, you're like, yo, if I said, yo, like I want to take this phone call with some guy who owns a sushi joint in the Bronx and now wants to work with me. Like that's an hour right there. That's another hour right there. It's like you can't have time for everybody if you want to be maniacal. So one thing I've learned is I had to start saying no.
Yeah.
And before I even hop on a call with a person, and some people might take it as a disrespect, but luckily most don't. Is I ask them specifically like, how can I help? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
When do you need this by? You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
Before we even hop on a call, where a lot of people want to meet, I'm like, nah.
No.
Let's just hop on a call. But even before we hop on a call, what is it exactly that you're looking for?
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, then what's the purpose of this call? You know what I mean?
I agree. So yeah, all of these people had like very targeted conversations.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'll take. And I've definitely said no to some conversations, or just like not responded to an email or a DM or something because I'm like, or like that's not up my alley. Sorry. Or even I've straight up been like, listen, I don't got the bandwidth to even take on this project. Thank you for like reaching out and like considering me for it, but like I don't have the bandwidth for it. But like for the producer one, right? I really wanted to take that call because I know like I have been wanting to do something physical and like filming my trailer. I am not a producer. And I was just like, and I had been thinking about it for a while. Like, I got to pick this back up. And then he like magically came into my email. And I was like, oh, God, you listening to me? Is the universe, is you talking to me?
Words manifest.
Words manifest.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was like, listen, I'll take care of everything. Like, I literally just want to work with you. He right now I think works for Wells Fargo or something, doing like some of their videos and stuff like that, but he wants to do something creative again. He used to do TV stuff, and that got a little like crazy, like really time consuming and stuff like that. So whatever, switch careers, and I was like, oh, like let's do something creative. I was like, all right, cool. So do you want to help me do my trailer? And that's when he was like, all right, so what's your budget? And I was like, here it is. And he was like, all right, I'll figure it the fuck out. We're gonna make it happen. And he made it happen. And you know, now I'm like, especially after this conversation, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm gonna have a conversation with him and see like what else can we film to like make this happen and just figure it out, because I feel like, you know, he really wants to do stuff creative. I want to do stuff creative. And just like, you know, like community is so important. And yeah, there's a way. I'm just hearing y'all and I'm like, there's a way I could do this. I gotta figure that out. There's a way.
By the way, that's some cycle breaker shit where most people are like, oh, we can't do that. I think that's what most people default to, especially when you're the first, and like, you know, my mom will be like, you can't do that. Why not? You know? And I think that, you know, for me, one of the first cycle breaker things for me was essentially just being able to have unrealistic expectations, right? Being the first one to be like, well, why not?
Yeah.
The confidence of a white male.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As Kanye said.
Like, why not? Like, seriously, like, okay, so I want this show. Why can't? So like, and we literally just start from like, people are like, yeah, I want to be healthy. It's like, that's not a SMART goal. SMART goals are measurable, achievable, you know, realistic and timed, right? So you're like, okay, cool. I want to do this show by this time. Okay, well, what do I need? I want that HBO show in 3 years. Cool. I could either wait for them to say, okay, go through this process and go 3 years, or I can make it, get it to a place that's so big and then give it to them in 3 years. This one, I have this path. This one, I have this path. This won't cost me this much in time. This won't cost me this much in time and money. You know what I mean? Like, no one breaks things down that way.
Right.
It just stays as like I want to be rich. I want to be healthy. I want an HBO show. I want to.
Right, but that's not really something to be claimed.
Exactly.
You know, like it needs to be way more specific.
Yeah, smart. It has to be smart.
Yes, the smart. I love that little acronym.
Yeah.
Sustainable is the S, I think.
No, simple.
Simple.
And by the way, it's not mine. This is like a Harvard business.
I know. I remember learning this when I took this like professional development thing, like I'm interviewing. Like when you interview, talk about your SMART goals.
Right.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Word.
Are there any other ways? How can we help?
Yeah.
What do you
else,
think?
though?
What do you think you're missing? Well, what's an introduction you might need? What's a book? What's a master? I love that you love masterclass, right? Like,
I love
like that's another
masterclass.
thing. Like, you know, podcast. Like, it's again, this is why you're different. Like, people that want it in today's day and age, you have access to everything.
Yeah, like, you know, I always say like your phone could either be a tool of distraction or it could be a tool of education. You can learn stuff or you could not learn stuff, you know? So I try to teach myself as much as I can, you know, like especially during quarantine. Like I was teaching myself Adobe and how to edit videos and how to write scripts and buying all the books I needed. And yeah, I'm really big on teaching my stuff up. Self stuff. In terms of like what you guys can do, a connection.
It doesn't even have to be connected. It could be everything.
I'm gonna think on that because I just feel like I'm leaving this conversation with so much to think about in my SMART goals. And right now I think I really want to think about how to make like small social media versions of my show, or like even just in that theme, like in a way that is gonna resonate with people. And so I think that's what I'm thinking about.
Here's
right
an
now.
idea, and you don't have to keep this idea. You could be like, yo, that shit basura. I don't even want to approach it. I would make an announcement video so you could just engage with your community so they know that for you as you, not a character in a skit. You make this announcement and talk about, yo, that I have this dream for a show and I want to build this with y'all. This is the premise. What kind of cycle breaker, anecdotes or stories that you might have, just drop them in the comments. And based on those comments, you create micro skits. You know, like you obviously have to pick and choose which comments that you want to go after. And that way you're actively engaging the community. So they feel like I'm a part of this process with Jasmine. You're getting a whole bank full of ideas. That's probably going to do well algo-wise because all platforms want you to stay on the app. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just one idea that I thought about.
Yeah, I've definitely had moments where I've asked people like share your cycle-breaking stories in the comments.
Yeah.
And like I've gotten a bunch of them. And that was just like a moment just trying to talk to other people. And in terms of like the little thing that I was making, like put you on game, I was looking for like other comedians that were also cycle breakers, which like I was like, that's like a very small number of like comedians that have like 4-year degrees. And I definitely spoke to a few, and then, you know, timing was off and scheduling. So it ended up falling off, right? Which is why I only have like 5 episodes. But I think now as I'm like sitting here, I'm thinking like maybe there's just a way that I could just do it and like play multiple characters just to make it as simple as possible. Like skip the whole scheduling conflict, skip the whole like, you know, just like, and this was why like years ago when I first started my podcast, I had a podcast for a couple of years. This was why I never had a co-host. I couldn't trust anyone to treat it like with the respect that I was going to be treating it with. And I think that's like one of my biggest qualms with collaboration. It's like, if I'm like, this is my project, this is my baby, I'm going to treat it with the utmost respect. And I feel like that's really hard to get from other people, especially people that like, maybe they're doing this because it's fun or whatever the reason is. It's hard to get people to respect your baby as if it's their baby. That's just, it is what it is.
I mean, finding somebody that aligns with your vision is actually a gift.
Yes, it is a gift. It is a gift. And it's like a kind of like a tug and pull, because another piece of me is like, okay, but I love working with people. Yeah. You know, like that is like, I'm such an extrovert. I love working with creatives, and I want other talented people to be part of my projects.
I mean, you can't, you know, no person is an island. You can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, like I want to work with people too.
2 things. The first one is to piggyback off your idea of an announcement. The other thing is like, I would actually, again, if you don't like the idea, but what's a way that you can Easter egg this where, you know, you might do a skit random. Like you said, I love that approach, by the way, where you have total vertical integration and you control all the characters even. Like this is an Eddie Murphy thing. And you know, this is like all the greats do this, right? And by the way, most invention is it's because of necessity, right? So you're thinking like, yo, as a producer, I have my producer brain on. How can I make this easier and reduce any friction? Well, I'll just play the characters myself, right? Anyway, but you could essentially A/B test that, and if a character goes, you already know that that's a character in your show, but they don't know that. And there's this arc that you've thought of like that goes 6 months, but then they don't even know that it's happening until you put all the books in the bookshelf, and then they could see the spine and they're like, oh wait, that was the whole story. You know what I'm saying?
Got you.
So that's one way that they could literally come on your journey with you, and the whole thing feels much more organic, and the community. Second thing is, again, I want to give you flowers in saying your that mentality of just being able to control every aspect, that's paramount in success, but also being able to let go. So, you know, I have many failed projects, and one that I had when I was in California, I had I had dreams of doing like a tech startup, right? But I couldn't code, right? So I did all the research, and I found my producer or my director, right? Okay. So I found someone that could code, essentially, right? Work out a deal with that person, and that person's like, okay, cool, I can get it to you by Friday. Friday comes, they're like, oh, I still need some more time Monday. Monday comes, oh, next Friday. And then 6 month delay.
Yeah.
Now, even though I did all the research, I'm the PM, I make all the mocks, all this, that. At the end of the day, I couldn't code myself. And I had to wait. Right. So then I thought to myself, I'm like, look, this sucks, man. This is like me trying to open a restaurant. I find the best purveyors of food. I develop the menu. I like the furniture, the location, the wait staff, like everything. I pick it all. But like the only person that could cook is the chef. And if the chef doesn't want to do it, I'm asked out. Yeah. So I swore to myself, yo, that'll never happen to me again. So like this podcast, I can record this. Yeah. I can edit the audio. Now, having said that, is that the best use of my time? Is it the best use of your time to like wash dishes or be, you know, host or no, of course not.
Yeah. Knowing what to outsource.
Yeah. But guess what? When you hire and someone tries to fuck with you, you're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I know the job.
I know the job. I know the job. And that's how the HBO thing, just to bring it all back, that's what it is. You're like, yo, we actually don't, like, you guys are good for distribution and for prestige. Give me that.
Yeah.
I'll take care of my, you want to do this budget? I actually don't even need that number. People think it's crazy. We always go into these conversations, whether it's our book or our TV show, to be like, yo, literally, what's the lowest number you can give us? Because we want to bet on ourselves.
Right.
We want ownership.
That.
We want all of it.
Right.
You guys are good for distribution. That's it.
Also, I think I think this is might have been proven already, like mathematically or scientifically, whatever it is, that when you start a business with too much money, you fuck up.
Yep.
Like it is good to start with like the smallest amount possible and then like work your way up to being like more responsible with that.
Yeah, like whenever I meet people like you who, you know, like a cycle breaker, this is a new word that I learned, is that because you came from the paint, you understand how to move in certain rooms that people that are not like you can't.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the fluency that you have, like the fluency of you knowing how to code switch when you go into a buying meeting in Macy's.
Right.
But then also you understand how to move a certain way. You know, when you're like back home in Castle Hill, like it's just that type of fluency is the world-class advantage that people like you have, which a lot of people don't actually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like you have all the sauce. You have all the, actually you have all the ingredients. You just need a few sauces in there to complete the dish.
I agree. They always say like you have everything you need to do the thing you want to do.
Right.
Like you have it. Just like figure it out. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, you're right. Yes. And I feel like that is true for like so many people. Yeah. No, I got the things. I got the things. I gotta make the sauce.